We're going to be making the lower die subassembly. It's going to come together something like this. You'll notice right away there's some parts that you did not make, like the springs, the washers, some of the screws in here. I made them for you. You can find them in your Unit 8 Stock Button Maker Parts folder, and you need to save a copy of those as your own part with all of the rest of your button maker parts. If you don't, it's going to give you errors later on. It'll be very frustrating. So please make that step now. I've already done that, and just to remind you, whenever you start a new assembly, you have to click New Assembly, and to put in all your parts, you select Place. So now I'm going to use my parts list over here, my bill of materials, and look for these different things. I'm going to start with all the ones that just have a quantity of 1 next to them. So the bottom die plate is something I definitely made. But the one after it, the 1/4 washer, is something you did not have a drawing for, so it's going to have a number next to it. It's number 11, 1/4 washer. If you hold down Control when you click, you can select more than one object at a time. Next we need the 1/4 20 5/16 button cap screw. It's number 15 here. The lower die outer ring and lower die 1 center. Quarter 20 3/4 socket head screw. Let's make sure I get the right one here. Where did that go? 1/4 20 3/4 socket head screw. This might be it. I want to select it just in case. If I need to, I can always delete it off and try something else. And this looks more probable. Here's a 1/4 20 socket screw. So I'll end up deleting the other one later. Lower die 2 center, lower die 2 outer ring, and actually here's something else to note. There's a 2 next to that, so I was going to leave that with a different file. I'm going to unselect that by holding down Control, clicking on it again, and I'll go and uncheck this one down here too. So now I'm just looking for lower die 2 center, lower die 2 outer ring, lower die 2 spacer, and bottom die spring 1, and bottom die spring 2. Number 29. Select Open, click once somewhere, click OK. Might pull these apart just a little bit so they're not so clustered. And now we need to get the rest of the parts. So go back up to Place, and anything with a 2 next to it, we're going to go looking for now. So 5/16 18 hex nut, 5/16 18 is number 40. We need the sequence lever arm. And I don't see that right away. I may have to go back and look for that in the parts list folder. We'll come back to that. The 1/4 20 3/4 socket head screw, 1/4 20 socket screw, and without being able to find the sequence lever arm, and let's take a look and see what that looks like. feel like this is a part that we made. Let's check down here real quick. There it is. Sequence lever arm. Select open. Click twice. Pull these pieces apart so we can see them a little better. And now we can start assembling. Alright, so we're going to be using insert constraints for most of this. So we need to figure out what is the top and what is the bottom of this piece. And we know that the ones with the numbers on them, this is actually the top. So I'm going to look directly at that, right click on this face, set current view as top, and I think I'm going to want to have it facing me kind of like this, where I'll see the 1 and the 2. So I'm going to right click, set current view as home, fit to view, and I'll need to change this to the front. So now we have a top, front, right side. It's going to be based off of this piece. I'm going to ground this piece. Alright, our sequence lever arms, they're going to be screwing in to both of these locations here. And for most of our constraints, we're going to be using the insert constraint. I would like to be able to use the top of this thread, but that's not possible. So instead, we're going to have to start off with these screws that go underneath it to hold it in place. So when I click on the bottom edge of that, look at the bottom of this, and where those holes are here, we can snap that in place. Let's quickly check and make sure that is where that's supposed to go. Oh, almost. Looks like it actually goes on top of that. So let me undo real quick. Cancel. Haven't actually done anything yet. Alright, and now knowing that, it looks like if I go constrain, insert, I can use the bottom of this. And the bottom side of this. As long as I select that edge, I can change the orientation of it and have that insert in place. Do the same thing with this one and the other lever arm. And now these screws would go over the top of that. Flip the orientation. On top of both of these, we're going to have a couple of different things. If I remember correctly, I put the number 1 closest to us. So the part over here that is lower die 1 is going to go on top of that hole. So I constrain, insert the top of this hole with this hole here, and the top of this one with the edge of this. Okay. Now I have two different springs. I have die spring 2. It's going to snap around the base of 2. So constrain, insert, pick the bottom edge of the spring, bottom edge of this, change the orientation, apply, bottom edge of spring 1, bottom edge of side 1, apply, looks like this little spacer actually goes underneath, and this also goes under on side 2. So we'll have to change that right away. Let's go back over here and we'll make an insert constraint, something to go under that, apply, and it's hard to tell which of these is which from this view. It looks like this is lower die 2 outer ring, and based off our drawing here, it's going to sit underneath of this. So constrain, insert, and the top of that should be in contact with the top of the outer ring, which I believe is here. And that's looking good. We'll have something similar with this. That's the inside part. That is going to rest on top of here. And now we have a couple of screws. They hold these bases in place, and this is going to screw itself down on top of this hole for something else. Alright, so we have our washer. We can use an insert constraint on that. Apply, and the top of that, the underside of this screw, apply, and that just leaves the undersides of these. I'm going to say insert constraint with this hole, and the top of that you may have to change orientation. Save. And this is the lower die subassembly. Yes to all. Okay.